Hey y'all, welcome to Culture Cult. My name is Marie. I am the host of the show, and this is a show where we are trying to learn about every country in the world. And I tell y'all the craziest story I found from that country. And this is a prime example. This fucking story today is insane. I actually don't even, I can't believe it's real. I can't believe it's real. Or there's not a movie about it. So today we are covering a story that is considered one of the most impressive maritime feats ever conducted. It is a story of how one man from Zimbabwe saved over 500 lives from a cruise ship sinking off the coast of South Africa. And his name is Moss Hills. The story is fucking wild. Buckle up. And by the way, I'm so sorry if the mic quality on this episode is not as good as it usually is in all of my episodes. Shit happens. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoy the story and learn a little bit about Zimbabwe today. Enjoy.
My name's Emma. I'm Julia's older sister. And I watched all of Lord of the Rings for the first time last weekend.
What? Was that hard? Because I can't do that.
It was a lot of work, I have to say.
It's very
But
exhausting.
I loved it. I just wish Samwise got more credit than Frodo because he didn't do anything.
I heard Emma's whole opinion on Sam versus Frodo, and it was long.
Like, Frodo was having like an internal battle. Like, I couldn't see that he was putting as much work in as Sam was. Sam carried him up. He carried Frodo up the mountain after already being exhausted fighting everyone for Frodo. And Frodo's just sitting there like crawling around. Bruh. Pissed me off.
It's the same thing in Harry Potter. Like, everyone does everything except for Harry.
He just does the final bits. And then they're like, great job, Harry.
Yeah, he's just the chosen one. Same with Frodo. He's just the chosen one. I guess when you're chosen, you don't have to do shit. My friend described Lord of the Rings as like one movie about one long hike. And I was like, that's exactly what that movie is. It's just a
It
hike.
literally is. It's just a big long hike.
It's so fucking sleepy. But
I loved it. Battle scenes are really fun. Like,
yes.
I love that. And there are some amazing shots of like the nature-y.
Nature.
There, it's good. It is good.
I'm proud of you.
I thought Emma's weird fact was going to be that she was my sister for a second there, by the way. I'm Julia. I'm Emma's little sister. And I can't think of any weird facts, so I'm just going to go with the obvious of Emma calls me baby rat.
What do y'all know about the country of Zimbabwe?
Well, I was just going to say I'm not going to say anything about it because I might be racist, so. What? Why? Like, I was going to say, like, is that where the Lion King?
You know what? The good question is, it could be. I don't know. And that's racist probably, too. I don't know.
That's why I'm saying I don't think it should be a good idea for me.
Wait, Julia, I don't know if you're wrong. Like, it is that vibe. There's giraffes, there's rhinos, there's lions, maybe. There's big cliffs.
I'm going to look this up now because now I'm getting anxious.
Now I'm getting anxious.
It was Tanzania.
I want to go to Tanzania. Okay. Well, we'll have to cover
All I know is
to find out.
the Great Zimbabwe. I feel like I definitely learned that in school, and I think you also talked about it at some point.
Learned about it in school because
in art history.
Yeah, you're actually right. Yeah, Great Zimbabwe. Like, that's what it's known for, but people like don't really know about it. So I actually have that as one of the facts. I'll break that down. So Zimbabwe is believed to be the location of Ophir, the ancient wealthy country that King Solomon got ivory and gold from. And Great Zimbabwe was a large and wealthy global trading network, and they found pottery from all the way up from China and Persia. They were trading with most of the world.
How is that possible? They're not like a port country.
There you go. That's another fact, is they're landlocked. So like they just, I guess like word got around about how like rich the land was.
Just had like strong networking,
strong reputation. And so just like how everyone thinks aliens built the pyramids, a lot of Europeans thought that there's no fucking way that Africans could have built this. And they excavated and stripped the entire Great Zimbabwe in like the 1800s of all of its artifacts because they were like, nope, the Phoenicians built this, and they refused to believe it was not Africans when it was Zimbabweans who built Great Zimbabwe. For a long time, Europeans were like, no.
They could never.
They could never.
But they did because they were very good architects and builders.
And I covered that in like the other episode, which I'll link in the show notes, like way more in depth about Great Zimbabwe, because it is like, if you're into architecture, it is very interesting to learn about. And it housed like 20,000 people in its walls. And this is like the Iron Age. And that's kind of a big city for that time
Yeah,
period. So yeah, that's one of the facts. It's also landlocked. Good job. Good job. I also learned it has the highest concentration of rock art in the world. Over 300,000 paintings dating back to 20,000 years old can be found in the Montobo National Park. Yeah. So it's just like ancient land. But like modern day, it's quite mixed up. Like they have 8 different currencies. They have the British pound, Botswanian, Australian, Chinese, Indian, and Japanese yen, and the US dollar can all be used as a
But you can
currency.
pay in any of those.
You can like just bring whatever cash you have and you could probably use
Bro,
it.
that's so random.
And then it has the most official languages in the world. It has 16 different languages and it holds the Guinness World Record for the most
Oh my God.
languages. So the
Do they
most
also-
currencies and the most languages. Like I don't know how they do anything.
Do they all speak 16 languages, or is it just like
Mhm.
separated?
I think it's a lot of
And-
tribes. Like the Shona one is a very famous tribe, but
It's just set up so differently from like other countries where there's like one united language, and it's like, yeah, it's based off of like tribe or smaller communities then.
Well, I mean, the most used currency is the Zimbabwe dollar.
okay. Oh, you looked it up. Good. Yeah. Well, I also was, so they were colonized by the British, and this is the problem with colonization. They just like put borders up. So that's probably just what happened. Like they just like, okay, now you're all part of our colony. And they're like, well, we don't speak the same language. We're 16 different tribes. And so they actually didn't gain their independence. Y'all guess what year? They were the last African nation to gain independence.
Oh shit. That means it's gonna be so recent. Is it like the 80s?
Well, because Emma said 80s, I'm gonna go to 90s.
Yeah, 1980.
No way. Oh, 1980.
Yeah.
I was right.
1980.
Oh, yeah.
On the dot. Just
That's insane.
very recent. So it's still pretty new. They do have a president, and I found this on TikTok that this girl named Big Baby Amy on TikTok said that there is a famous road in Zimbabwe called the President's Road. And apparently you cannot drive on the road after 6 p.m. If you do, the security, military, cops will pull your ass over and like assault you pretty much. Like they're
it
dead
a
fucking
main-
serious.
Is it like a main road to get to everywhere?
I think it's a pretty big popular road. And apparently like if the president decides to drive on the road at any point in time and during the day, you can't just like pull off. You need to pull off the whole fucking like sidewalk, the whole fucking, you got to get out of there or the military will
Wait,
like
so
come after you.
Why not 6 p.m.? What's wrong with like what happens then?
Yeah.
Why?
Maybe that's when the president goes out to eat. Like, I don't know. It's like when he's on the road, you can't be on the road. Like that's so inconvenient.
See if it's like a major road that like is a way to get to everything.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but she had a story on her TikTok about her friend that like got slapped by one of the military guys because he was on the road at 5:50,
No way.
and they were like, "What are you doing on the road?" And he's like, "I have 2 more minutes." And they're like, slapped.
That's awful.
God.
Yeah, so I was finding some good stuff on TikTok about like just weird stories like that. Other facts, hooray for Zimbabwe. They have achieved some remarkable wildlife conservation, and they have protected the rhino population from poaching. And the population has increased by 600% since
Wow.
2014.
That's
Good
great.
job. Thanks, little rhinos.
Especially for like a place that I think a lot of people think there's a lot of poaching and everything for protecting animals that are a main ecosystem of them. I think
Yeah.
it's very
Actually, both
Yeah.
countries, Guyana and Zimbabwe, are really good at conservation efforts. I just realized that. Another cool fact I learned about, so under the massive capital of Harare, there's a secret underground cave system called the Hoi Caves. I actually think I should look it up. I'm gonna put this in the chat. It's insane. But look at the caves though. It's fucking insane. It's just crazy that's like under the city. Oh, that's just creepy.
Well-
Thinking like below you, there's like huge cave systems and there's people scuba diving beneath you. But that's the Hoi Caves. All of the pictures will be on Instagram. So you can look it up. I think it's fucking crazy. I love learning shit like
I
that.
do think like the beauty about like caves and underwater caves is they're so majestic and
Yes.
they always have the clearest water, but they do freak me out.
I wouldn't be able to look under the water. It would scare me.
Well, yes, if you want to go see a real cave, go to Chinhoyi Caves. And my last fact, y'all need to look up this tree. So this is the sacred baobab tree, and its trunk is so big, it can fit up to 40 people inside its trunk because it's a hollow trunk, and it's known as a tree of life, and it has stood tall for over 2,000 years.
No way. This tree is weird.
It's like 5 trees in one.
Yeah.
Oh, this is I honestly this would make me believe in God. Like if I went and saw this, I'd be like, no, this is impossible. Oh my God, I hope my mom doesn't listen to that.
She's like, you didn't?
You realize Aunt Sarah's been listening to these because she was talking about your podcast.
No.
Like, yeah, she literally full on goes, well, I was listening to Marie's podcast and
No.
I found out the actual true story of Marie's monkey bite.
Come on. No, this is not. Hey, aunties, get off. No, this is not for the
But I
Richie
know-
fam. Y'all can't be
And I
part of
said,
this.
I looked at
Bye,
your
Aunt
mom.
Robin. Bye,
Imagine
Mom.
She's like, oh,
I looked at your mom and I said, are you allowed to watch that? And she goes, it's out for, or listen to that. And she was like, it's out there for anyone to listen to. And I was like, I don't think it's meant for
No,
you.
no,
I did
no,
not-
no, no. That's not for my mom. The only person who can listen is probably Aunt Laura because she's cool.
yeah, she's cool.
Uncle Mike hates the podcast apparently because he thought it was a real
Because-
history podcast.
Yeah, his history podcast. We talked about this. Where he likes the ones where they're like 47
And then-
soldiers went into the front lines. They all. Like, that's what he likes.
My mom was like, yeah, he doesn't really like yours. It's not for Mike's pictures. Sorry, Mike, you're
No.
also kicked off.
You need to tell your mom to stop listening.
So Zimbabwe is known to some amazing waterfalls. One is called the Eastern Highland Waterfalls, which no one ever goes to and no one ever knows about. That's your little secret. It's insane. Like they have like some of the highest waterfalls in Africa, but the most famous waterfall is the Victoria Falls. That is the colonized name. The real name is Moise Oya Tuna. That's the native name. It is one of the original seven
Victoria.
wonders of the world. This
That's
waterfall,
gorgeous.
the Victoria Falls, Moise Oya Tuna. And pause that. Now here's really where everyone in the family should really log off before I tell the story. But I accidentally dated for 1 week a serious drug addict. I didn't realize he was on drugs because I was dumb until it was too late. And then he was like, yo, this guy's fucking crazy. But anyways, he was also from Alabama and he went on a missionary trip to Zimbabwe and he did zip lining across Victoria Falls. And which is great, whatever. He said he went back
Was he
there
on
like
drugs?
7 years later. He goes back to Victoria fucking Falls. And they had put his whole face on the fucking billboard. Just him. Like you go to
Why? Why?
Can you imagine like going back home and you're like, why
Imagine
is
going and be
my-
like, oh. And then they recognize you. They're like, "This is the man from the billboard."
He's on the fucking billboard of Victoria Falls
Why?
bungee jumping. Maybe because he despite him being a drug addict, he was a beautiful man.
Oh my God.
I could see why.
Yeah, but was he on drugs during that zip line?
Definitely. Like he's having the time of his life.
Dude, I just love how you introduced that, by the way. You said, I accidentally dated a guy.
I thought he was just a pothead, and then I actually gonna record that story. That's the one where I went to Coachella. Mr. Alabama man, he is on a huge billboard in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. Okay, so that was our fun facts. What was your favorite fact?
I'm intrigued by the caves.
Honestly, I'm intrigued by the President's Road because I just don't understand. Like
I know,
Emma
tell me
said,
more about that.
happens at 6 p.m.
Yeah, hey Kate, if you're a Zimbabwean and you're listening to this, can you please write in? Because I want to know like what's going on with that. Yeah, is it a massive road that's like everyone genuinely needs to use and like you have to be off of it? And
Yeah. Like, do you have to be home? Like, does everyone's work end at 4?
Yeah,
make
so you
sure
get
it's-
home. And like, has anything happened to you with the military because you were on the President's Road? Like, so you can write in. The Instagram's at Culture Cult Show, and the email is culturecultshow@gmail.com. If you're Zimbabwean, please.
The International Lounge Podcast is your passport to world culture. Join your hosts as they dive deep into the ancient and modern history of different countries in each episode. Laugh along with special guest comedians as they explore the 4 F's of cultural survival: film, fiction, food, and funk. So, put your tray tables down for a hilarious ride through time. Subscribe to International Lounge on your favorite podcast platform today.
So today's story is kind of Titanic. It's about a cruise ship sinking. And question to y'all, have y'all even been on a cruise ship? So you can kind of, have you been on one? So you know what that's
I don't like them. I don't
No?
like them.
Okay. I wish
I
you
would do
had.
it if it was going to Antarctica. That's the only reason, because I think that's the only way you can get to Antarctica.
Yeah, and also the waters, that's like you're crossing the really most dangerous waters to get there.
I'm sorry. You would go to Antarctica riding a cruise ship, which is literally icebergs are what made the Titanic sink.
No. That's literally how you get to Antarctica. You have to get a boat there.
Passage.
They do like what are they called? Expedition trips and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really common. They know what
How
they're
many
doing.
boats have crashed?
Well,
Dude,
so you have
probably
to pass through the
count.
Drake's Passage, which is like when like 2 of the oceans collide, and it's extremely dangerous waters. So that's the only part that you have to be aware of.
Harrison's mom invited me to go on a cruise ship, and I said, no, you will never, ever see me going on a cruise. And she was like, why? And I was like, because I don't want to be stranded. And also, it sounds awful. And also, if anything like the Poseidon movie happens, I'm not going to be happy.
It was traumatized in that shitty Poseidon movie.
Well, okay, that story is definitely gonna make you not want to get on a cruise. I've been on one. It was very, very fun. I will say I did get freaked out at night when I like looked out and I was like, "Ooh, we out here.
Yeah, you can't leave.
We are out here." And it's like weird because you're like on this big fucking party boat, and then you look out and there's nothing, just black, and you're like, "This feels weird." Like just be partying in the middle of the ocean. It just feels so fucking
Also,
weird.
If you party in the middle of the ocean and then accidentally fall off the boat, you're dead. You're gone.
Oh,
You died.
actually, so a couple facts of that. Like, if you fall off, it's gonna take like the ship to turn around like 5 miles. It can't just turn around. It can't whip a Yui. It takes about like 5 miles for them to actually turn around. And then by the time they get to you, you're a speck. You're a speck. So it's like,
That's what
how
I'm
do they
saying. You're
find
dead.
you? And then you could get sucked into the propeller. And on the cruise ship I was on, the cruise ship before, some guy like hated his mom so much, he committed suicide and jumped off the cruise boat. Which I'm like, what?
This is not
That's-
helping my fear of cruises, by the way.
Yes. So they are fun. I will say. But today, also before we get into our story, I want to do a big shout out because I decided I hate writing and I don't want to write these stories anymore. So I hired my friend Laura from the Travel Creator Podcast, who's a fantastic writer. And if this is witty and cool and a great story, it's not because of me, it's because of Laura. And you can hire her.
Okay, Laura.
So today we're going to be talking about a guitarist who saved lives, specifically a Zimbabwean guitarist who saved 571 lives in the most epic and terrifying way. And he has somehow lived to tell the tale. And his name is Moss Hills.
Okay.
Moss Hills is a Zimbabwean. He spent most of his 20s though in South Africa and tried to become a professional musician. It was there at the southern tip of Africa that he met his wife named Tracy. And to make this more romantic, they started performing together on cruise ships all over the world. That was their thing. In 2014, Moss Hills joined the company Silversea as a cruise director and got a big promotion.
Oh my God. No way. I went to a fucking, that's insane. I went to a fucking, like cruise ship thing for work. And they were like one of the biggest people there. Like I was like talking to people from that company.
Silversea?
Silversea, yeah.
I think this one's fine. I think Silversea's not the
Oh.
company that went wrong.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I thought they were kind of bougie. They were like luxury.
Yeah. No, I think that they're fine. This is just one of his first jobs.
Okay, lol. Okay. Hopefully I don't know the other one, so I can't be like, oof.
So yeah, he joined the company Silversea as a cruise director and got a big promotion. And this guy was known as the dad of the cruise. Like everybody fucking loves Moss. He's just that guy. He mostly spends his time hanging out on the cruise ship, entertaining guests with his guitar. He plays saxophone. Cool points.
100%.
Yeah. And he was the kind of guy you'd want to throw a frisbee around on your family's beach vacation. And maybe at the bar, hear his crazy cruise ship stories as you sip your pina colada. So he is just the cool guy, you know, that you like come home and you're like, I met the coolest musician. That's Moss and Tracy. So Moss and Tracy's musical talents and fame on Silver Sea would come 23 years after that day. So they had really been cruising around for a long time. Like they're kind of professionals. So now it's August 4th, 1991. And let's go back. Moss and his wife Tracy aboard the Greek cruise ship, the Oceanos. This is the fateful ship that will be no more by the end of the story. They were working as part of the ship's entertainment. Before I get into the insane story, we have to talk about a little bit about the boat. You know, why is this boat going to be no more? The boat back in 1952 was like luxury. It was like a beast. It was just the boat to be on. That was 1952. It was 1991. So already by the 90s, she was already vintage by the time the 90s came about. Oceanos was operated by the Greek shipping company, Emperor Tiki Lines. The company grew large very quickly. It became the largest cruise line in the Eastern Mediterranean. What's important to know is that during this time period, cruise lines weren't building new ships for their cruises. They were instead buying old ships, and then they were just kind of like giving it a nice little touch up. They weren't really, and then they're going on these like constant tours on these cruise ships. And so at this point, this 1952 boat is now being contracted by something called TFC Tours. This is the company that this ship is going to sink under. And Moss and Tracy found themselves on the ship, on the Oceanos. So what TFC Tours was doing that was smart, they were taking advantage of a lack of pleasure cruise options departing from South Africa. But there's a reason why cruise ships, that's just not a hot spot for cruise ships. And it's because the waters around South Africa are extremely dangerous, kind of like the Antarctic, like around that area. It's just extremely volatile waters. So the amount of storms that pass through and the huge waves. But TFC Tours was like, we see an opportunity. We're going to be one of the few cruise ships that do tours in the most dangerous parts of the world.
So they get a 1950s boat and then go in dangerous waters. That's so lame.
And they literally just slack some like tiki lights on it. And you're like, it's a cruise.
They honestly sound like the biggest red flags. Like this is where you just don't do it.
Yes. It is noted. So yeah, they're not taking care of the boat. It's noted that when the passengers got to port to hop on to their expensive vacation they've all been saving money for, they noticed that the boat was looking very rusty, which is not great if you're about to head out on a 7-day excursion where you will not see land. So it's 90s. Our old girl Oceanos is no stranger to cruises departing from South Africa. This boat has been doing it a couple times by now. So Moss and Tracy are not really stressed. And at this point, like everything in the trip has been doing really well, you know, but it's around dinner time. They both notice something is really off. So they had set off at the end of July from Durban, South Africa to Cape Town and South Africa, and then back to Durban. So the entire trip was about 1,000 miles and had 2 ports of call, and which means 2 stops. It was the 3rd of August, and Oceanos was approaching its final stop in East London. So yeah, they're probably like day 4. It was here that even more passengers hopped on to enjoy a one-night cruise headed back to Durban. So more people got on the boat. Before the boat took off, it got a little bit delayed due to some weather conditions that was a part of their route. After it being delayed, we have insert our antagonist, Captain Yanis Avranis.
Giannis, hate.
You're definitely going to hate him. You're going to fucking hate him. So he is a skilled captain. Like he knows what he's doing. He's been doing this boat cruising, captaining thing for about 2 decades. So
Wait, was he there the whole time? Like he was always on this crew, or were they like switching out captains?
I think that he's always been a captain. So he does have some skills behind him. He decides that the Oceanos needs to stay on schedule despite the weather, and that leaving port right now is to be the next move, which cue like any fucking movie, like this happens. Some guy's like, no, we must be on schedule. So Moss is doing his music thing on stage during the cruise's party to celebrate their last night on board. Moss begins to notice that the waiters and waitresses are having a hard time keeping the drinks from falling over, which is like normally they're pretty good at keeping control because it's having waves on a boat. It's very normal. My first night on the cruise ship, actually, I got really seasick, but that was like not even that bad of waves. And now I'm thinking about it because no one was freaking out. It was just me. I can't actually imagine this. If the waiters, the professionals can't even hold the drinks. So it's not a surprise to you that the weather doesn't get better. So to paint a dramatic picture, the Oceanos is a 500-foot boat out in the ocean against 30 feet swells 40-knot winds. So everyone is just feeling so seasick and everyone's being tossed around.
Oh.
During a break from their performance, Tracy told Moss she was going to have a run to their captain to put an emergency bag just in case. Right as she left, the ship's power completely shut off. And if you go on YouTube, I'll drop the documentary. You can see like them performing, and then you can hear like a big boom, and then power goes out. So the power goes out. At this point, you expect some announcement from the ship's crew to be passed along, but no instructions or no information has come. Moss says, quote, "You're on a ship in the middle of the ocean, in the dark of night, in a terrible storm. I felt this tightening in my stomach." And this man has been on cruise ships for like 23 years.
He knows. He knows.
Something's really not going well. And now the ship is listing, which means it's like going on its side. It's going back and forth. It's not a good vibe. So Moss ran back up to the stage to check on his instruments, and he noticed how quiet it was. And
The
he
instrument.
Yeah, he said, "Wait,
my
microphone."
guitar.
He wasn't checking on people. He was checking on his instruments.
Yeah.
His wife was like, "Honey, I need you," and he's like, "Wait."
It's like my bass.
It's
So he went back on stage, and then he noticed it really clicked to him how quiet the whole boat was. He realized it's not just lost power in electricity. The ship has lost power in its motherfucking engines,
Ooh.
which means now the ship is just floating aimlessly.
Quiet. Like, is no one like panicking? Like, I would be
Oh, I'm
screaming.
sure. In the documentary, it says like Moss and his friends were like playing music and trying to entertain. And they said that they bring the rock and the waves bring the roll. That was what
Ooh.
That's so cheesy. Thought about that later.
feel
He was
safe.
like, "We brought the rock."
Then roll the roll.
But yeah, I mean, he was really trying to keep it light, but he inside was like, this shit is not good. That's now just dead quiet, no power, and the boat is beginning to slow down as the waves crash against it over and over and over. Yet time kept passing and no announcement was being made from any of the ship's crew. But he's like, you know what? I'm gonna keep entertaining y'all. But now the boat is starting to list, it's starting to tip. So now everyone's starting to kind of roll on top of each other and start to go one way.
That'd be a bit silly, wouldn't it? Woo!
He's like, everyone do the wave. Moss looked at Tracy and said, quote, "Something bad is happening. I'm going to go and try to figure out what's going on." So
They really need to stop splitting up, because that's like the main reason people like fuck shit up, is when you split up from your like one true love, everything goes wrong.
Whatever,
Watch
do it.
movies where it's like they're like, we're gonna split up, and then they're like spending the rest of the time trying to find each other, and they're like, everything's going wrong.
I think the main problem is that this boat was from the 1950s. But yes, Julia, you're right.
If they hadn't split up,
If they just not splitting up, the boat wouldn't have sank. So Moss grabbed his other fellow musician, Julian, and headed to the deck below. What they found was chaos of people running around, but unfortunately, that wasn't even the most chaotic thing they found. They reached the thick waterproof doors that existed in the engine room and could hear what sounded like a large body of water sloshing on the other side. They quickly realized the boat was sinking. And guess what? No freaking announcement from anyone, from any of the ship's crew, from none captain.
power's off.
No, but there should still be like
like someone-
information being passed around. Like I'm sure they have a protocol for exactly this of how to pass information around.
Clearly they did not. Okay.
So Moss went to seek out the cruise director, who told them that the captain said they need to start abandoning the ship. So now one person knows. Now he needs to share the news to the rest. A little while later, Moss decides he must go back downstairs to check out what's happening. He brings his video camera with him and he turns to look towards a stairwell. So an entire deck was flooded and the ship definitely was sinking. One of the crew spotted him filming and started yelling at Moss to stop filming. I guess to protect the cruise. I don't know.
The cruise is already done.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked.
No, but it's a bad reputation.
Hey, apparently while he was like, stop filming, he was like, the crew member was adamant that there was no water while Moss is standing in water. So Moss is literally standing there in gallons and gallons of water. And he's like, stop filming. There's nothing to see here. So Moss, being the genius that he is, keeps filming. He ran back upstairs and told the rest of the musicians that this baby is going down. But the crew and the captain are not passing along information. They're just fucking lying about it not sinking.
I think they were trying to kill everyone on this ship.
Seems that way, doesn't it? I feel like the crew, I don't know how it works. Like, I've never worked on cruise ships, but it's like maybe they're kind of in like, and obviously this is not that much of an excuse because I feel like anyone can kind of figure out what to do, but it's like maybe they have this thing of like always do what the captain says kind of thing. So if they like thought that he had like a plan and there was a reason why he wasn't announcing it or something like that. But
Well, I think it goes more towards that movie where like the movie where the chef is like trying to kill all these evil people
He wants to kill a whole cruise line.
and his crew is on board with it. They are ready to die for him.
I think they're prepared for these things on paper, and I think they are not prepared for this if it happens in real life. I think they're literally in denial.
yeah.
Everyone, including the captain. So Moss discovered that a lifeboat has already left the ship, carrying the crew and the senior officers. And the only reason the
Wow.
captain isn't on that boat is because he did try to get on the lifeboat and then they kicked him out.
Oh my God. Wow, that's insane.
The captain tried to flee, and now all the senior officers and the crew are on one of the lifeboats. By the way, the lifeboat's not even filled up. They don't even leave with maximum amount of people. They're just skedaddling and leaving 500 people to fend for their fucking selves.
Like, what were they going to tell the story when they got back to land? Like,
Literally.
we somehow ended up alive.
Actually, everyone on the cruise died but us. Oh my God, my heart would have sunk if I would be livid. If I see there's that fucking boat going down, I see the captain on the boat, I'd be like, get your ass up here. Now, imagine Moss seeing that he's like, oh no, everyone that knows everything about the situation and has a protocol for this is now on a fucking lifeboat and skedaddled. There's no order now. There's no way to know what to do here. So now Moss, the guitarist, a man who plays a string instrument for a living and is not qualified to oversee an emergency evacuation on a cruise ship, and he has no idea how to launch a lifeboat or do anything helpful whatsoever, has decided to take charge. So if you've never seen a lifeboat on the side of a massive boat, they're hung high up on the sides of the boat. So they're pretty tucked out of the way. And it's actually quite difficult to get them outside the boat and then get them into the water while the boat is listing and the lifeboat slamming into the boat. It's hitting the waves. Like, it's such a difficult task to get people on lifeboats. And now anyone who knows how to do that is already on a lifeboat like a mile away. So Moss took charge of lowering the lifeboats himself. And Moss and his new crew of musicians were figuring it out as they go, and even had trouble keeping the lifeboats from wobbling too much as they were being filled. So much so that Moss would have to jump back and forth between the lifeboats and the cruise ship as it swung back and forth from the side of the ship. Meanwhile, the cruise ship is actively taking on massive amounts of water. And he's now a gymnast jumping back and forth from the boat to the Oceanos.
Really like Jack Sparrow vibe.
And every time the lifeboat would hit the side of the Oceanos, it would smash the side of the hull of the lifeboat, and massive pieces of the boat would go everywhere. So it's like damaging the lifeboat every time it hits the Oceanos. Once the lifeboat was full of almost 100 people, 100 screaming people of all ages, children to elderly, the challenge didn't end there. He now has to figure out how to start the boats. So somehow he figures it out. And once he gets the boats fired up, he lets them go out into the night and into the rolling waves. Moss said, quote, gravity would suddenly drop the lifeboat 3 or 4 meters in one go, almost tipping people into open water. It was horrific. Things kept getting worse, to be honest. Moss realizes that he's losing faith that he'll be able to get anybody off the boat safely. In fact, it's becoming more dangerous to try and put people on the lifeboats than to leave them on the sinking ship. At this point, again, the crew is sitting cozy on their lifeboat watching, and there's still hundreds of people on board. But Moss and his crew of musicians are trying to figure it out. And again, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So Moss heads up to the bridge, which is a fancy word for the boat's driver's seat. And it's basically where you should find the captain, except Captain Yanis is nowhere to be found. There is a video of him on YouTube. He's just like clutching one of the poles by the pool with everyone else. That's your captain. So Moss started meddling with the radio and tried to send out an SOS. Finally, they hear a booming voice saying, "What's your mayday?" And the captain on the other end of the radio asks what their coordinates are. But like Moss has no idea idea. Guy on the other side of the line asks, what rank are you? And Moss responds, well, I'm a guitarist and no one else is here. And I'm sure the operator was like, what?
Yeah, I'm sure the operator was like, the fuck is going on right now?
It's either his first thought was probably that they died rather than they just left.
He was then put in touch with 2 other ships that were thankfully close to the location of the Oceanos. After being instructed to go find the captain, Moss does a search. He found Captain Yanis at the back of the ship smoking a cigarette, and Moss went up to him and was like, I kind of need your help. Help me. And the captain's response was apparently, it's not necessary.
Oh, this guy has to be in jail now, surely.
Yeah.
It's not necessary.
This is why I think he's a mass murderer.
I think he thought being a captain of a cruise ship sounded cool until what actually happens on a captain of a cruise ship is that the fact that like your ship could sink. Like he doesn't actually know how to handle that. Also, reminder, this boat didn't need to leave during the storm. He chose to leave during this storm. So luckily, the other smaller ships close to Oceanos were able to help share the boats coordinated with the rescuers in South Africa. Moss turned to his wife and said, I think the ship is going down. It's very likely we're going down with it.
But they have true love, so it saved everyone.
Yeah, Julia, you're right.
Well, it just does keep getting worse though. Moss and Tracy at the time had a 15-year-old daughter together who was on the ship, but thankfully she left a few days earlier so that she did not have to experience this. But like her daughter could have been on the ship. And Moss said, quote, she can't lose both parents. Whatever we do, we got to make sure at least one of us gets off. Just so sad. 3 hours later, a rescue helicopter starts hovering over the ship. Out plop 2 Navy divers who land on the deck. And then they pull Moss aside and teach him how to run a helicopter airlift.
Wow, they don't even go to find the captain anymore.
Yanis is just watching this.
Like, it's not necessary. Y'all have cigarettes?
Yeah, he's like, y'all got a lighter. What part of the band do you think Captain Yanis would be in? The fucking triangle.
Like,
No. Triangle requires rhythm.
I think he's the singer. Sorry if Lin-Manuel Miranda watches your podcast, but he's like Lin-Manuel Miranda. He puts himself as the main character, but he actually has hero voice.
That was perfect. Yes.
Like, why are
Yeah, I
you,
think
the
he's-
writer, literally casting yourself as the lead? And you're like, it's nice. It's nice.
That's literally Yanis. So yeah, so now Moss, the guitarist and saxophonist, is now learning how to run a helicopter airlift with, again, screaming people of all ages. So the Navy diver ran to the back of the ship to help facilitate the helicopter rescue there, while Trace and Mossy were out in charge of the helicopter rescue up front. As he is strapping people into the helicopter rescue device, other people are jumping off the side. Moss is like, oh, hell no. And he deploys inflatable rafts to rescue them, on top of also putting people in airlifts.
He's genius. Well, he
Yeah.
has a job to do, so Tracy needs to skedaddle because he's like saving everyone.
No, Tracy's helping too. I think
Julia
Cass
just
is-
voted Tracy out.
I voted Tracy to literally get on the helicopter. That's what I said. She needs to leave so he can.
I thought you were like, jump.
I voted Moss out.
one less person weighing it down. No, but like thinking about that decision, it's like, well, who goes? Like, if only one of us is gonna make it, like,
Well, honestly, he's saving so many people at this point. They're probably gonna survive. So he needs to stop being so melancholy.
Julia, let's see what you're like in that situation with Harrison. Let's find out.
Honestly, Harrison will be Moss. Harrison's like saving everyone.
You haven't heard the story of how Harrison came to save us during the flight. I literally panicked the whole time. So I have airport anxiety. Like this isn't it's why I don't go on cruises. I'm already stressed out in the airport.
I don't want to paint the bad photo of myself, but I'm like one of those like fright or flight. When I was in Alaska and our raft started sinking, I don't know why I did this. I jumped out of the thing, and the guy who was like helping us, he was like, "Get back in. What are you doing?" I was like,
I'm off the start of people jumping off the side
Yeah,
of the
she's just
boat.
jumping off the cruise ship.
that's the thing is like I probably would just like have a panic response and be like, I'm gonna jump."
And then Moss has to throw you a lifeboat.
Yeah, I just remember I like jumped out and the guy was like, "Get back in the boat." Like, are you fucking joking? You're being like.
Honest to God, I'm such an in denial person. I would be the person still playing the guitar. I'm like, is everyone having a good time? Remember,
And
we
Harrison
rock,
saved
they
everyone.
roll.
Harrison's saving people. Emma's jumping off the side of the boat. I'm screaming, and Marie is like, "Let's go, guys! What do you want to hear?" Billy Joel next. Like,
What do you want to hear? Someone give me a song.
Yeah, so throw a song out, guys.
I
don't like
can't
what
hear
you
you.
I love that line. Not all at once, guys. I can't hear over the scream.
I shit you not. I would definitely be the one that's just playing the guitar. That's just like,
I have to solve. That's how I am. I have to figure out.
Solving is not jumping off the side of the ship. Solving.
that's not
That's
solving
what
shit.
my like anxiety brain would do. It'd be like jump, just fucking jump.
At least we all know who we are.
And maybe this can allow us, if we're actually in the situation, to reconsider our natural responses.
You know what? I will
Maybe-
never put myself.
Maybe I'll be like, let me not jump.
She grew a little bit.
Emma, like, let me not jump. Where's the guitar?
And then people stop and they're like, please stop playing. You can't fucking play.
Yes, the worst part is I actually can't play guitar, so I'm just stressing people out more because I'm like,
Stop that girl. Yeah, you just get thrown off instead of jumping off.
I'm the one fucking casualty. They throw me off. They fucking murder me.
They're like, oh, she was one of the crew.
They do a memorial service. They're like, rip to the one lost on the ship. DM me who y'all would be on the ship. I want to know which person
Yeah.
are you on the ship.
The Giannis's are out there.
Y'all have to be real. The Giannis's out there would never say they would be a Giannis.
Right.
I have this feeling that Jeff would be like the guy who's like intending to help but isn't doing the right thing. Like he'd be like, I'm gonna fix the engine, and they'd be like, it's broken. Go do that. Like, he'd
Engine
do something
spots.
like
He's like, no, I'll go down there.
This is why Jeff is lower on the boyfriend level, Emma. This is why Harrison has won.
Oh yeah, Jeff is like really jealous of this, by the way. I'm always like, oh, you're great. And he's like, well, Harrison saved your town with chainsaws. And I'm like,
Ah.
And you know what he's about to do, Jeff? He's about to save the ship with 500 people.
no, you know what Harrison's problem is that he can't say no. He doesn't, he probably learned how to do this just through moms being like, Harrison, get up in that attic. And he was like, oh, yes, ma'am.
Get
And then,
up in that attic. Harrison is Lost Hills. Okay, so back to the story. I lost it really bad. I don't know where I'm at.
You were
okay,
at
yeah, I'm at the part where people like Emma are jumping off the side of the ship, and people like Harrison are having to now throw inflatables to save Emma's.
stop, jump, idiot.
And then, as people are being lifted into the sky, some of them are being hit against the side of the ship because that's how insane the wind is. So now people are traumatized and injured, but time was running out. So Moss had to continue. Eventually, there's a total of 5 helicopters part of the rescue mission that each carry 12 people at once. It's really not a lot of people, and they got to go all the way back to land and refuel and then come all the way back. Meanwhile, the ship is like straight up on its side, just taking on water. So eventually, the helicopters carried everyone off. Moss and Tracy were the last people to be strapped in and taken away on the helicopter. So that means the captain left before Moss and Tracy did.
No way.
How was he allowed on the helicopter?
I know, I'm sure. Why? I know. I'm like, aren't you the fucking captain? No, sir.
Okay, don't you have to stay with the boat until
You
everyone-
actually have to go down with the ship.
Yeah.
You know what else I just thought about? You know what else I just thought about that's actually fucked up is like cruises are full of old people. So he
Yes,
probably was like one of the
yes.
younger people on this and having to deal with a ton of old people, like people who
Yes.
literally, he probably had to like hold hands with every single person.
Get them onto like lifeboats that are swinging against ships, or getting them in an airlift basket that's swinging against the ship. You're right. So in less than an hour later that Moss and Tracy were picked up in the helicopter, the entire ship went Titanic style, went up, and then sank underwater. And 30 minutes after they get fucking airlifted, they really had no more time, if you think about that. Somehow, no one fucking died.
No one?
Not one soul was lost.
Wait, not even the people who jumped?
Emma, you still caused more problems than needed, okay?
I added a challenge. I added levels.
That wasted even more time because, like, again, they only had 30 minutes till the ship was actually going to go underwater. So by people like Emma jumping off, it's costly.
He should be, does he have like a medal of honor or something? I don't even know. Like, what do you do after save 500 people?
No one died.
And the fact that, like, how far away from shore were they? Because the helicopters had to go back and forth.
Yeah. So they were 1,000 miles offshore. I think that was like in the beginning of the episode. Yeah, but like, and not even just like died of a heart attack, at least of like terrified. Like no one died. Yeah. So this little feat by Moss and Tracy is considered one of the most impressive maritime rescues ever conducted, ever. So let's find out what the fuck caused all this mess. How did this little trip across the ocean
It was Giannis.
end up with a 500-foot ocean liner sinking like Titanic into the ocean? So we find out later it comes to light that before the Oceanos took off on its last leg of the trip from East London, which is South Africa, not London, it had some work done on it. We later find out that a non-return water valve was not fully replaced by the time the work was finished. It's believed that a plate in the water disposal system burst and immediately began intaking water and filling the compartment. The water got so high, it reached the boat's engines, which created that explosion, which is what happened in that video, if you watch on YouTube, of that big boom. They're playing music and all of a sudden the lights go out. This is what caused the boat to lose power and its propulsion. It was believed right then and there the captain knew the boat was in trouble and he did not say shit. If he had started taking action then, it would have been definitely guaranteed they could have had help and no one would have died. But at this rate, because he didn't say shit, everyone would have died if it wasn't from us. So like most tragic accidents, it could have been avoided, but there was negligence and a rushed job. And now I'm sure all of you are wondering, what the fuck happened to Captain Giannis? We later learned that Captain Giannis was one of the first to be airlifted off the ship.
Oh, hell nah, bruh.
He said, quote, "When I order abandon the ship, it doesn't matter what time I leave. Abandon is for everybody. If some people like to stay, they can stay."
He didn't tell anyone to abandon the ship. He literally sat there with a cigarette and said, "It's okay, everything's fine."
No,
Everything's fine."
this is surely there's some kind of law that's like he has a duty to protect people.
It's just, I'm at a loss of words. Can you imagine fucking hearing that? Especially if like you're one of the like the Red Cross or like Navy divers where like all you do is sacrifice your life, and then you hear this captain talking like that. I'd be like, wait, why did we save you?
Why is he in jail?
Wow.
Why isn't his crew?
No, because without him, he should have been like without Giannis, no, not Giannis, without Moss, he would have been liable for
like 500 deaths, 571
Like he
deaths.
actually would have if he didn't follow the right protocols. I feel like that surely there has to be something
That would have
behind
been
that.
like that would have gone down as like one of the worst
You could
maritime
say it was
accidents.
attempted manslaughter. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
easily. So after an investigation, the crew of the Oceanos were found negligent,
Okay,
but
cool.
were not charged or held responsible for the sinking or any of their behavior during the sinking.
Right.
No one is held accountable. No one.
Wait, but why? Why if they were charged and then not charged?
They're found negligent, but they were not charged.
People could sue them and say, "You endangered my life."
I would
win a
sue them.
So it says they were found negligent by the Greek Board of Inquiry, which makes me feel like it was just a PR thing. Like they were like, if we convict y'all, our cruise ships are gonna go. Let's just hush it up. But I'm like,
But surely they're gone out of business now anyway.
I'm more confused why it wasn't like the government that's involved, not the board of the fucking cruise line. Like y'all almost murdered international people. Like that was not just Greek people. You would think that the other governments would be involved and be like, you're gonna be charged for murder.
Bruh.
Oh my God. Isn't this like one of those things where like it's so infuriating? It's like an incredible story because Moss is an incredible person, but like at the same time, there's also shitty people. As amazing people, there's amazing people, and there's also the shittiest people. I really fucking hate Captain Giannis. Like I hope he like burns like in hell. Like he's the terrible
I want
person.
to know. I want to know where Captain Giannis is today. Like,
Yeah.
what is he doing? Has he got any jobs? Has anyone hired him? Is he pathetic and sad?
Does he even sleep at night? Probably yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look him up.
So what happened to Moss? Moss moved from South Africa to the UK with his wife Tracy. He still works on cruises all over the world, but as a cruise director, and he still performs for fun.
I'm sure he just does better now. I think he probably chooses cruises better.
He also knows how to survive a cruise thinking now. So he's like, I'm the fucking shit. Like,
Well, yeah, he also knows how to call
Save
people
everyone.
if needed and save everyone. I guess he is kind of like, you want me on your cruise.
Yeah.
Date with me on your
Oh,
cruise.
he's so
fucked. Sorry. Apparently his wife wrote a book about it, and this is his defense of his actions. He said he left early because he felt it was the only way that he could arrange for the rescue effort. He said this was the only way to ensure safety after checking. But even though what's his name, Moss did everything from on board.
So the wife wrote that for Giannis. Giannis couldn't even write his own fucking stupid lying book.
Bruh.
His wife had to write the book about lies. I think this is the most infuriating kind of person. It's like someone who genuinely doesn't think they do
He just
anything
looks like
wrong.
he like takes the piss. There's a photo of him smiling like this. When I give
Fucker.
command to abandon ship, it doesn't matter what time I leave. Bro.
Oh yeah, he is.
Are you actually looking at the cruise ship sinking? Are you actually looking at the pictures? Look at that shit.
You can see the people being airlifted and how the boat is literally going Titanic style.
Matos is adorable. Look at him. He looks like a real captain.
There's a article that says I went back.
He was forced to leave the first time he left. They kicked him off
He
the
said
fucking boat.
Captain Janet was one of the first to leave the sinking ocean and did not return to supervise rescue operation. Furious survivors have insisted. However, the captain said, I left because I did not have any communication with other ships and did not know whether other passengers and my crew were alive. I went back to the ship.
That's full bullshit.
Or maybe his wife wrote the book on her own just to be like, I can save it. I can save your image.
In our marriage. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. That's the worst part. He has no guilt.
They have a
That's
photo of it underwater.
Yeah, the underwater photo is creepy as shit.
Yeah, I love it.
I'll post all these on Instagram. I
Ah,
want to look it up.
underwater.
Oh, that's so creepy. I think the creepiest one is it Titanic style, like all the way up straight.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what it looked like 30 minutes after Moss Hills left. Yeah, though he becomes a cruise director, he still performs. He also designs and builds websites, if you would like a website done by Moss Hills. And he gives promotional and motivational talks. And he is the guitarist who saved 571 lives, including the damn captain. And that is the story of Moss Hills and the Oceanos.
I'm proud of Moss. Pop off,
Yes.
King. And he's also adorable. I'm seeing little photos of him
Also,
and his
wait,
singing.
we should also give his wife credit because she did everything with him.
And Tracy,
also-
Moss and Tracy.
Moss and Tracy agreed.
And they both survived and they both got to go back to their daughter. I was
And-
even thinking like, if he's still alive, like I wonder if I can get him on the podcast. And
Can't forget
Tracy,
Tracy.
Moss and Tracy.
That'd be crazy.
And then I really want to hear his opinions on Captain Giannis. I have a feeling he's like, move
Yeah,
on.
I'm sure he's gonna be nice about it. He's probably gonna be like, I really wasn't focused on Giannis. I was
Yeah.
focused on Giannis's mistakes and saving everyone. So.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like there is like, yeah, because there is, I feel like when you're in that situation, you can probably recognize that maybe in that moment, not everyone is cut out to be that person. But also, I feel like that if you are a captain taking on the responsibility for that many people, you should to some extent like make a pact with yourself and be prepared to be like, that is my job as a captain and I have to protect people on the boat. And like, if it comes down to it, like I need to be the one to like the fact that the crew and him were lying about the fact that it was stinking and not allowing people to take their own precautions. That I feel like that there's something sinister about it rather than like, oh, I just wasn't ready or prepared for this.
like, also,
Yeah.
what is the point of lying? No matter fucking what, the ship is going to go down. It's inevitable. And I think it's the part that pisses me off. It's like, yes, we don't know who we are until moments happen, but you are now lying to this day about your role in this. And all the crew
Yeah.
members, fuck you. They left on a boat that was still empty. They could have had other people on it. Yeah, I think it's all manslaughter. They all purposely looked at the ship that was sinking with like, they're all going to die, but I'm safe.
It's manslaughter. I think the best thing is both of them were saying like one of us needs to survive, and both of them basically were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna save all these people," and they both survived. Power couple. I think Harrison would tell me, he would be like, "Get on, like save yourself because you're annoying me and you're not helping."
Yeah, I think I would stress
And I was
people
jumping
out.
off this ship. Marie's playing guitar. Harrison's trying to save people, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, "There's so much going on."
I hope I would be like Moss, but honestly, who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
It's so scary.
I don't-
It's so
Yeah.
scary.
They would be like, "Where's your position?" I'd be like,
Like anyone else we can talk to.
Yeah, please. Yeah, they'd be like, what are your coordinates? They'd be like, what's that? What does that mean?
I'm like, I see the North Star somewhere.
Yeah.
I was just like, come fucking get us. Just get in a plane. Come, you'll see us.
out.
We're
Fucking
sinking,
figure it out.
bitch. You'll see us. But yeah, what did y'all think of Zimbabwe and Mr. Moss Hills? That clearly Zimbabwe creates fantastic people. This episode doesn't look good for Greece, I will say.
Yeah, Giannis. Imagine Giannis is the one who listens to this and not Moss, and he's like,
Fuck you, Giannis. Piece of line.
he's like, let me on the podcast. Let me on the podcast.
Let me on the podcast. He's like emailing me all the time. I'm like, or guys, we email Giannis. We're like, we really believe your story. And we bring him on and he's like, he's all pripped up and he's dressed up and he's ready. And we're like, fuck you.
Yeah, I think you have to go and be like, so Giannis, tell us about how you literally left your entire ship to die.
He was like, wait, what?
You're like, okay, we have another special guest, Giannis, someone that actually did the saving. Mox, why don't you come on in?
Come on in. Cue the music. Cue the saxophone. Yeah, stay tuned for that episode where we roast the shit out of Giannis. Okay, well, to end, do y'all have anything to say to the Zimbabwean people?
Don't go on the road after 6.